compound inequalities. Excuse me. These are a little bit tricky. Let's see. Compound inequalities are similar to the idea of a compound word. What's a compound word? Two words that when you put them together make another word? Yes. Like butter, fly, butterfly, watermelon, all those. It's two words put together. Compound inequalities are two inequalities put together. So how can I tell that these are compound inequalities? Well, in each one of them, you will see two inequality signs. You see that? In each one. Now, some of these problems, as I finish highlighting these, some of these problems have a word written in them. What words do you see written in the problems? And. Okay. And or. And there are some that don't have any words. Like what doesn't have a word? Number 3. Number 6. Any others? 8. 3, 6, and 8 don't have any words. When we have compound inequalities, we have two options. We either have and, or we have or. Okay? An and graph, when we graph it, it will have two important points. We will have open or closed circles. It will follow the same rules. You may have one open, one closed. Follow the same rules as before. But in an and graph, we shade between. Okay? In an or graph, we will again have two important points. And again, they will be decided open or closed, same rules as before. But not shading between, we will shade out. Okay, so the reason why this works is if I had x is less than 4 and x is greater than -1, we'll say greater than or equal to. If I were to graph this, what are the two important points? 4 and -1. Which one has to be on the left? -1. Would -1 have an open circle or a closed circle? Closed circle. And think about it this way. Let's see. Do I have good colors for this? We'll try these two colors. X is greater than or equal to -1. What direction would I shade from there? To the right. So greater than or equal to -1 is technically that way, right? Less than 4 would be an open circle on 4 and shaded what direction? To the left. So do you see how those two shadings overlap? Do you see the part that's both yellow and green right in here? That's the between part that we shade like that. Because in order for something to meet both of those requirements, it's only the part where it overlaps. Does that kind of make sense? Yes. When we have or, it's slightly different. For example, if this was -3 and this was +2, this would be x is less than or equal to -3, or x is greater than or equal to 2. Less than or equal to -3 is shaded to the left. Greater than or equal to 2 is shaded to the right. There is no overlap there. Do you see that? It's two completely separate inequalities and they don't cross over each other. So the and part technically is the whole thing, but the overlap is really the part that we're looking for. Okay? So do we need to memorize this? No. If you can remember that and goes like that and or goes like that. That's the important part to remember. Okay? So let's look at number 1. 9 plus n is greater than 15, or n plus 9 is less than or equal to 0. I basically have two things to solve here. What would I do here to solve this? Subtract 9. So n is greater than what? 15 minus 9 is 6. Would I put an open or closed circle on 6? So on 6, I'm going to put an open circle. What would I do to solve over here? Subtract 9. So n is less than or equal to negative 9. Would I put an open or a closed circle on negative 9? Where is negative 9? Negative 9 is, it's right there, isn't it? Because that's negative 10. It can't be on that line. It's got to be right there. Now, this is an or, and it should make sense because n is less than or equal to negative 9. Well, that's shading to the left of negative 9, isn't it? N is greater than 6 would be shading to the right from 6. Does this match the type of graph that I said would be an or on the back side? Yes. So there's two different parts to your answer. There's this part right here where you have the two solutions and you have the word and or, and then you have the graph that matches. Yes?
Is the and or like the equal sign where you can't lose it? Oh, did you get the airplane?
The inequality symbol is more like the equal sign, but the or and is what justifies the way your graph looks.
Okay.
Because if you have the word and, but your graph looks like this, there's an issue. Okay? Yes.
Did they fix the
Uh-huh. Yes.
What do we do with the ones that are
I'll get there. Good question. All right, next one. X plus 2 is less than 11, and right here. X minus 5 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so what would I do to solve over here? Subtract 2. So I get x is less than what? 9. So am I going to put an open or a closed circle on 9? Open circle on 9. Okay. What am I going to do over here? Add 5. That's going to leave me with x is greater than or equal to 5. Am I going to put an open or a closed circle on 5? Now, I should be able to visualize the overlap. Greater than or equal to 5 means coming from this dot and shading to the right. Less than 9 means coming here and shading to the left. That overlapping part is in the middle. So there's my graph part. My solve part is right here, and I have to have the word and in the middle. So? Okay. So there's an or. Here's an and. Problem. Number 3, it looks like it squished everything together. There's no and there's no or. Uh-oh. Guess what? If there is no word, can't be a regular one because there's two inequality signs. If there is no word, it is automatically and. No word. If there is no word, it's automatically an and. And I'll show you why, because as we solve this, if I wrote this down, 1 is less than or equal to x plus 8 is less than or equal to 6. What this is saying is it's saying that 1 is less than or equal to this, and also this is less than or equal to 6. Okay? Now, when I have this, I want to see you separate it into two inequalities. One inequality. So how do I split this up? Well, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover up the less than or equal to 6. This is the first inequality I'm going to solve. 1 is less than or equal to x plus 8. And the other one, I'm going to cover up the 1 is less than or equal to. This is the other one I'm going to solve. X plus 8 is less than or equal to 6. So that middle part goes on both of the problems. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what do I do over here to solve this? Subtract 8. That gives me negative 7 is less than or equal to x. Can I write that better? Can I say x is greater than or equal to negative 7? Just for graphing, that might be a little bit easier, right? Because if you flip it, you have to flip the sign also. And what do I have to do over here? Subtract 8. So x is less than or equal to, what's 6 minus 8? Negative 2. So here's my answer part. And when you graph it, you should be able to see the overlap part again. Open or close circle on negative 7? Closed. Open or close circle on 2? Sorry, negative 2. Less than or equal to negative 2 shades to the left. Greater than or equal to negative 7 shades to the right. So it does match the overlap part being in the middle. Not too bad, right? By the way, we have not encountered any multiplying or dividing by negative numbers. If we multiply or divide by a negative number, you still have to flip signs. Okay? But pretty much each one of these is just solving two inequalities at the same time and then picking which graph it fits. Okay? So I want you to take a minute and try 4, 5, and 6. Try 4, 5, and 6 for me. All right, so I'm going to work through these. 9 plus 6k is greater than 39, or 8 plus 10k is less than negative 72. What do I do first over here? Subtract 9. So 6k is greater than what? 30. I'm going to divide by 6. Do I have to flip my sign? No, because I didn't divide by a negative. So k is greater than 5.
You said negative 7.
Thank you. So this is a 72. All right. So, or let's see what I get over here. What do I do first? Subtract 8. So 10k is less than what? Negative 80. Divide by what? 10. Do I flip my sign? Am I dividing by a negative? Nope, I'm dividing by positive 10. So k is less than negative 8. So k is greater than 5. Open or close circle on 5? Open. 5 would be right around here in the middle. Greater than 5 is shaded to the right. And then k is less than negative 8. Is that an open or a closed circle on negative 8? Open. And less than negative 8 is shaded to the left, which matches up that the or circumstance is shaded out. So we have innies and outies, right? Ands are innies, ors are outies. All right, next one. 2x minus 8 is greater than negative 20, or 9x plus 2 is less than or equal to negative 88. Is this going to be an innie or an outie? Am I going to shade in between them or outside of them? It's going to be an outie. I'm going to shade outside. What do I do first here? Add 8. So 2x is greater than what? Negative 12. Now I divide by 2. Do I have to change my sign? No. Nope. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Open or close circle on negative 6? Open. Or, let's see what we've got here. What do I do here? Subtract 2. 9x is less than or equal to negative 90. Divide by 9. Do I need to flip the sign? No. X is less than or equal to negative 10. Open or close circle on negative 10. Open or close circle? Closed. And did we say innie or outie? Or makes it an outie, so I shade out from each side. Right? Because x is greater than negative 6 would be to the right from negative 6, and less than or equal to negative 10 would be to the left of negative 10. All right, number 6, how do I split it up? What's my first equation? Negative 11 is less than negative 3 plus 8r. What's my second equation? Negative 3 plus 8r is less than or equal to 5. What word goes between them? And. Because remember, no word means it's an and problem. So, what should I do over here? Got to get r by itself. What should I do? Add 3. What's negative 11 plus 3? Negative 8 is less than 8r. Divide by what? Do I flip my sign?
No.
Nope. So r still going to be there. Negative 8 divided by 8 is negative 1. So open or close circle on negative 1. Open. Okay. And over here, what do I do? Add 3. So 8r is less than or equal to 8. Divide by what? 8. And r is less than or equal to what? 1. So open or close circle on 1. And where do I shade? In between. We have an any for and. Because r is bigger than negative 1, which means to the right, and less than or equal to positive 1, which means to the left. So we have overlap. And that's my self part. Okay? All right. 7, 8, 9, and 10 are a little trickier. Simply because, well, you tell me. Why are these ones different? There's letters on both sides. With inequalities, when there's letters on both sides, how do we deal with that? Well, yes, we combine like terms, but it's easiest to put the letters on the left for graphing. Now, in this case, it doesn't bother us too much because since we have or, we know we have a graph that we're shading out from. But I'm going to just keep the letters on the left to make life nice. So that gives me 10n minus n is n, I'm sorry, minus 9n is n. Plus 1 is greater than what? 9. Now what would I do? Subtract 1. N is greater than 8. Or, let's see what we get on this side. Actually, before I go there, open or close circle on 8. All right, over here, getting my n's on the left, I'm going to subtract n. That means I have 8 plus 5n is less than or equal to 8. What do I do next? Subtract 8. And then people freak out because there's a 0. but we don't freak out. We just divide by 5. And what do we get? N is less than or equal to 0. Is that an open or a closed circle on 0? Closed. And do we have innie or outie? Shading in between or outside? So this guy's going to the left, and this guy's going to the right. Okay? Do we get the idea of what's going on? Would you like me to do the last 3 examples for you, or would you rather use the time to get started on your homework? All right, perfect. Then happy studying.